Alright. So my brother-in-law was nice enough to leave the barbecue cover in here. And the 400-pound propane tank. Yeah, so my Turbo Duo broke down a long time ago. It seems like just yesterday. Anyhow, I mean, the CD-ROM drive broke down. I mean, among tragedies, I think the only thing worse than that would probably be the doctor calling me up and telling me I got ball cancer. So I was like real down about that. And you ever see Donnie Brasco when Al Pacino's sitting on the couch with Donnie and he's like, I don't know, they're having like a moment together and Donnie, he goes, Donnie, not Donnie, Al Pacino goes, Donnie, I gotta tell you something. I don't know if this is line for line, but this is basically what he says. I got cancer of the prick. Cancer of the prick. He couldn't come up. It's like, you know, couldn't find a better way to express yourself. Alright. So anyway. So how do we change a negative into a positive? Well, I had some Nintendo 64 games that I wound up selling off. And wound up getting like, we got a shitload of money for that stuff, which was fantastic. So I said, we have the core graphics, which we can play our chips on. Let's order 3 chip games. And I got the wrong ones here. I'm sorry. 4 chip games. And boy, oh boy, it was like one game was better than the next. Now, we're well on our way to collecting a complete shooter, PC Engine CD shooter collection. We're really getting close. But all of a sudden playing these chip games made me realize, like, I used to feel bad for guys that were exclusively collecting for chip games because I felt they were missing out on the CD-ROM and blah, blah, blah. Because, you know, because that's the easier way to do it because it's more expensive to have the CD-ROM. I mean, you got to buy a Turbo Duo RX at this point. And I mean, you're talking about, you got to drop $500. And that's like way out of the realm of the possibility for a normal guy. So I completely understand if you're just into collecting chip games. But boy, oh boy. People ask me all the time. They want to know about like really good PC Engine chip games. Well, you ready for this? Okay. Let's start with this one right here. And this... Okay. This game really surprised me. This is 1943 Kai. I think that's... I don't know if I'm saying it right. K-A-I. I say Kai. I like the way it sounds. 1943 Kai. And let me tell you something right now. 1943, if you guys ever remember in the arcade, 1943 was the arcade machine nobody would touch with a 10-foot pole. I mean, everybody was busy playing shooter games in the arcade. I don't know, they never went over well, maybe in your neighborhood, but not around by me. Everybody at that point was well into fighting games and NBA Jam and this type of thing. The pinball machines and any type of shooter cabinet that was there was almost like completely ignored. Because you have to understand something. The shooter genre, I mean, arcades started out, you know, you're talking Space Invaders, you're talking, I don't know, 1942, 1943, these type of games. They were kind of like old hat, you know, when you saw 1943 in the arcade, it was kind of like old hat by then. It was like, okay, another one of those types of games. But here it is, NASAC soft developed game. Here's what they did. They took the first 7 stages of 1943, and it's basically your standard arcade fare, probably better than arcade knowing the PC Engine. I didn't look at any comparisons. I'm going to guess it's better than arcade at this point. And this was a game from 1991. Okay, so this is fairly late in the PC Engine's cycle. So here we go. You play the first 7 levels, And like I said, it's standard 1943. And then after that, and thank God I didn't read any reviews about this or watch any gameplay footage about this. All of a sudden, this game turns into a turbocharged, I believe there's 4 or 5 additional levels where Nasdaq takes over. And it's like tremendous weapon upgrades. Like this, the music completely changes. The music turns awesome. I mean, it turns into a whole new game. And you wind up fighting at the end boss after the seven standard levels. Is you go up against the battleship, the Yamamata, which is I think I'm saying that wrong, but if you know anything about World War II history, the Yamamata, I think it's Yamamata, I'm not sure, was one of the biggest battleships, might have been the biggest battleship ever, and I believe it had 18-inch cannons on it. I think the Bismarck had 15 or 16-inch cannons. I think the Yamamata had 18-inch cannons. If you could ever imagine what an 18-inch cannon is like going off right next to your head. I mean, the concussion alone would probably blow you right off the deck. Absolutely amazing. All right, where are we? I don't know. Okay. But wow, what a joy to play. Here we go. This is from Data East, and here we go, guys. Whoa. Override. Not many people talk about Override. When you look at some people's top 10 shooter lists for the PC Engine, this usually gets an honorable mention. But boy, oh boy, this might be in the top 10. Override is a fantastic overhead vertical shooter. Wow. Graphics, fast-paced game. Nice graphics, good sound. What this game has, it has great weapons. It has this interesting mechanic where when you stop firing, in other words, when you let go of the fire button, you build up like a power weapon. And what's interesting is it takes a time to do it. So basically, you're avoiding enemies trying to build up this weapon, and your handicap is that you can't shoot. And then when you go to press fire again, you've let off this enormous, powerful burst that clears the screen. So you almost get into these positions in the game where you keep. What's great is when you have all your weapons and then you die, you can start off and kind of keep cycling this super weapon, and you wind up avoiding bullets, and then you unleash the super weapon, then avoiding bullets again, and then unleash the super weapon, and you can grab all the power-ups in the interim and almost get back to where you were before. And you can almost keep on riding that super weapon wave until you realize, Jesus Christ, it's almost harder to play this way than it is to play the standard shooter way. So it almost fucks with your whole, with your shooter motor skills. It's like, should I go for the big blast super weapon, or should I play the game standard fair? And the big blast super weapon really helps out with end bosses. But Jesus Christ, if I didn't get stuck on the 5th level of this game, and You want to know what's interesting? These next 3 games, I got stuck on the 5th level. And I couldn't move forward. And I kept on just cycling through these next 3 games, trying to get past the 5th level. And I don't know, I just stalled out, so. But Override, wow, this is a super duper game. Really, really cool. Really cool. Not many people talk about this one. And woo, you're going to pay for it. 1943? I think we paid 99 bucks for it. Maybe even more than that. Override? I think we paid close to $100 for it. It was up there. It might have been between $80 and $100 to get this one. So we're not talking about cheap games here. All right, the next one is the game I wish. Well, the TurboGrafx did have it, but I wish I had it when I had the TurboGrafx, and I did have it, but it was after the TurboGrafx was really relevant, so it didn't count. And here we go, and this is PC Engine, and this is Air Zonk for the TurboGrafx 16, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis killer. Write it down. I'm going to tell you, and you're saying to yourself, what, huh? What? I'm going to tell you something right now. The Super Nintendo could not handle this game. There are so many things going on screen. Huge sprited enemies, small sprited enemies, bullets all over the screen. The weapon systems in this game are absolutely incredible. I believe there's 5 different weapon power-ups you can get. And on top of that, there are assistants that you can not call into the game, but there are assistants you get when you collect a certain amount of power-ups that come into the game and help you. And I mean, you want to talk about filling the screen with mayhem. It's amazing to me that the PC Engine can process this game. I mean, there are points in the game where you have bosses that are actually almost bigger than the screen. You're fighting as Air Zonk with an assistant that's bigger than you, and you're throwing weapons that... He has this one thing where he throws it's like playing cards, like these Japanese playing cards. They fill the screen. And on top of that, you can drop this mega bomb that's also filling the screen. I mean, there's so much happening on screen. I mean, this thing right here would crash the SNES's CPU. I don't care what you say. And as far as the Sega Genesis is concerned, it might be able to handle the graphics, but it wouldn't be able to reproduce the sound. And the sound in this game is absolutely incredible. And I haven't talked about this game because I just thought it was a game everybody knew about. Everybody knows Air Zonk, right? Everybody knows PC Engine. Here's an $80 to $100 game as well now. This is getting crazy, guys. PC Engine... listen, I say this so many times. It's such an exciting game system to collect for. To me, it's like flying to the moon. It's like all these undiscovered... It's like I'm discovering games for a system that I loved as a kid. And I'm able to discover new games that were made at that time when I was a kid. And I get to see them now. It's so interesting. So interesting. I don't know. All right, here's a game very interesting. And wow, you're gonna pay a heap for this. Boy, we're talking about I paid like $400 for these 4 games. This is crazy. And here we go. Okay, we're talking W-Wing, and something grabs me about this game. I don't know what it is. Here's another game that doesn't get the critical acclaim, but look at the cover art. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know. It just grabs me. Okay, W-Ring is a decent shooter. It's by Nazak. Oh, by the way, Hudson Soft over here. Hudson Soft on the label, quality on the table. W-Ring is what I would say, if I was going to tell you about W-Ring, I would say this is Nazak's version of Gradius. Okay? And what am I going to say about it? All right. Beautiful graphics. Weapon power-ups kind of piss me off a little bit because there's 3 stages to a weapon power-up, and I like to see big changes between each stage of the weapon power-up, and you don't really get that. Bosses, a little easy, but I will say, this game, if you get this game for nothing else, you get it for stage 3 because the graphics on stage 3 are absolute eye candy. It's like it's like the CPU got on crystal meth and just, I don't like that. I don't like the way. It's like the CPU hit the nitrous oxide boosters. And it's this water level where there's water flowing on the ceilings and on the floor, and water flowing everywhere, and like these waterfalls in the middle of the level on these floating like islands. It's gorgeous. The music is awesome. We're talking level 3 here. Music is good throughout the rest of the game, but I mean level 3 is just like candy for the eyes. Candy for the eyes, and just wow. Level 3. Other than that, it's okay. It's okay. Okay, let's move along. Okay, here's a game that I'm really excited to talk about, and here's a game that nobody talks about. And that is, and this is great. This is in everybody's price range. Here's a game that you can get for like $35 to $40. It's a solid game, and that is Psycho Chaser. This is one of my favorites for a couple reasons here. The music in this game is absolutely phenomenal. I love chip games that have really dark and ominous music. Good examples of that are, let's see, Legendary Axe 2. Oh, it doesn't get more grim than that. I don't know why. It's just Dungeon Explorer has some pretty dark tunes, chip tunes. What are some other ones? I know what's the fucking game with all the balls? Ballistics makes it. It's not a very good game, but man, it has some haunting music. Anyhow, oh, even Alien Crush. Alien Crush has some pretty dark chip music. I don't know what it is. Dark chip music just rules. And Psycho Chaser is jam-packed with it. And this is what you would almost you'd call it a vertical scrolling shooter. Even though you're a robot, you're looking from the top down at a robot that's running along. And a lot of really cool weapon power-ups, well, weapons that you have right from the start, but naturally as you progress through the game you can power them up, but you can select them and they help you with different enemy patterns on the board. You can select through them and whatnot. You can also be destroyed because the level's constantly scrolling, and there are like different obstacles because you're ground level that can actually crush you into the bottom of the screen. So that adds to part of the strategy of the game. You have to, you know, get out of the way of those things while paying attention to enemy patterns on the screen. It's a tough game. You get past the level, you can upgrade your different weapons. You can upgrade your energy. Which is actually your psycho energy, which I believe is your speed. Your guy starts out very slow, and speed helps a lot. But Psycho Chaser, man, wow. Great mood to this game. Great mood. Like this game a lot. Okay, So who wants to hear me? Oh, by the way, yeah, like 35, 40 bucks. Very, very affordable game. That's not too bad. Now let's talk about some games that aren't very affordable. Okay, here we go. I haven't played any of these games, but there's a story to each one. Let's start with this game right here, which has been very elusive for me to find, and that is Terraforming. Jeez, this thing is gone up in price. I haven't played it yet because I just received these three in the mail. I haven't had a chance to play them yet. Can't wait to play them. I've seen some screenshots. I've heard some music from Terraforming. I've seen some gameplay of Terraforming. This is Sid Mead's, did I get that right? Sid Mead's Terraforming for the TurboGrafx 16. Boy, oh boy, what a fucking price you're gonna pay for this game on the TurboGrafx 16. I think it's up to like 400 bucks. But on the PC Engine, it's a very affordable. I think we paid 165. So it's not cheap, and I thought that was a decent deal. And I only buy really nice copies of PC Engine games over here. But I mean, the design of this game, I don't know if you guys can see any of that. Really, really wild sci-fi, beautiful graphics, a lot of parallax scrolling in here. I think that was one of the main draws for me into this game, with these wild, like, sci-fi environments. I mean, it's really, this was one of the games that came out later in the TurboGrafx life cycle, and I can remember when the TurboGrafx was long gone, and I think it was even to the point where the PlayStation was coming out. I can remember going to Radio Shack, and I was looking through their catalog. I don't know what I was looking for. I think I was looking for like an AV, one of those component cables things where you can compile all the components in there, and, you know, like a component selector, so you could select through all your game systems. Oh God, I can remember buying that, and there was a young guy there, and he goes, "What are you gonna get that for?" And I said, "Oh, I can connect my Nintendo, you know, my Sega Genesis, all my retro systems together." And I remember him saying to me, "Why would you want to do that?" Just like that, like the idea of hooking up retro video games was a ridiculous idea. That was way back when. But anyhow, I remember flipping through the catalog, and there was two TurboGrafx games in there. It was Terraforming, and I can't remember the other game. But there they were for sale in the catalog for $35. And I can remember I just had gotten a credit card at the time, and I wanted to buy it so bad. But then I was thinking to myself, you know what? The TurboGrafx is done. You know, I didn't have that mindset yet. Boy, had I known, I would have bought 1,000,000 copies. And that was the TurboGrafx version of Terraforming. So super psyched. This one's been on my radar for a while. Really glad to have it. All right. Moving on. A game that's kind of along the same line. I don't know. It has the same feel to me. I don't know. Here's a chip game. Dead Moon. And here's a chip shooter. This is a horizontally scrolling shooter, as is Terraforming. And this was also available on the TurboGrafx 16, and it goes for a lot more money on the TurboGrafx 16 than it does. Even though I think I paid like, might have paid like 69 bucks for this or something like that, 70 something dollars if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, here's a side-scrolling shooter that I haven't played yet. I just know that it's jam-packed with parallax scrolling. I remember reading about this game back in the day. Always wanted Dead Moon. I mean, what a killer name for a shooter. Dead Moon. It's terrific. Anyway, can't wait to try this out. And here we go. So basically what happened here is, oh, by the way, for Terraforming, Dead Moon, Psycho Chaser, Terraforming, I wound up selling, we sold off all those all that Kung Fu stuff, the Bruce Lee stuff. You know, it was neat stuff. I went through it and whatnot. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't really have the space to keep, you know, it was almost like 300 magazines around. So I thought better off selling it off and putting it toward the PC Engine collection. And boy, that stuff, all those karate magazines, all that Bruce Lee stuff, went for over $1,200. Yeah. So we picked up Terraforming, we picked up Psycho Chaser, and listen, I had like $500 burning a hole in my pocket. I said, we need a copy of Magical Chase, huh, guys? Woo-wee! This is hot stuff, guys. Hot potato! Well, if anybody knows anything about Magical Chase, especially on the TurboGrafx 16, on the TurboGrafx 16, I don't think there's a chance in hell I'll ever own it in my lifetime. I mean, this is a game that's going for like $4 or $5 grand now. Holy Grail game for the TurboGrafx 16. But, for the PC Engine, it's relatively affordable at about $500. No, we paid $475 for this game here, and I don't even know if Magical Chase for the PC Engine is that rare, or if it's just riding the coattails of Magical Chase for the TurboGrafx 16. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. I don't think this is a rare game at all. So anyway, I was like, you know what? I'm at the point now where I was like, I had the $500, and I'm like, if I don't do it now, then never. And I don't know, I just thought it was like a cool game to have, you know? So here we go, Magical Chase. The big difference between this and the American version, I'm not telling you guys anything you already don't know, but the American version had supposedly better graphics, some minor design changes to the graphics. So, but whether they're better or not, I don't know. That, you know, I guess that comes down to, you know, your personal opinion. I haven't played the American version. I haven't played the PC version either yet. So I'm curious to get into this. Is that cotton, by the way? I don't know. It sure looks like cotton. So, anyway, there we go. So that's like, let's see here. This is getting crazy. That's 400. It's like over $1,000. PC Engine. This thing's getting crazy. I don't know. But guys, I can't think of a better way to spend my money, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, it's either this or putting my kid through college. It's a no-brainer. Alright guys, I'm BitHead1000. You just tuned into the greatest video game program in the history of human civilization. And I mean that. I'll see you next time.